Welcome back to another episode of Building the Pride. Excuse me, I haven't spoken yet today, so this is might be a little bit rough to start. But today, well, I should say on Friday, Mike joined us. It was good to see him, and we chatted for an hour about the Lions off season, but we didn't get to do a bunch of mock drafts. So today, Sunday, I thought it would be interesting to check in on the Taylor Decker return, what that means for Detroit's potential day one and day two options in the draft, and then take a look at some of these tackles who are going to be working out at the combine at 1 p.m. So we're going to get more information on like arm length, hand size, weight, all that good stuff in just a couple of hours. So, everything's subject to change, but I wouldn't be surprised if we had a pretty good idea of who the tackles are going to be that are in Detroit's range at the start of the draft. So let's talk about Taylor Decker. So Taylor Decker has been the Detroit Lions left tackle for 10 years. So the quintessential we drafted him and he's locked down that left side of the line for a decade. Like you always hear that, like, hey, draft him and forget him, right? Well, that's Taylor Decker. And he's been a really excellent player, in my opinion, for the Lions for a long time. And we're going to just kind of look at his career over the last 10 years here just real quickly. Maybe if I can figure out how to make this work. Here we go. Okay, here he is. 6'7", 318. I believe these are combine stats from when he was at the combine. Went to Ohio State. Yeah. So not everybody's perfect, right? But this was a Bob Quinn draft pick. Was it? I believe that both Decker and Ragnow were Bob Quinn draft picks, although I'm not 100% on that. So let's just take a look at Taylor Decker through the years. So 2016, he's a rookie, plays 1,000 snaps, 81 grade. That's excellent. That's really good. He gets hurt. 2017, grade drops. That makes a lot of sense. Comes back. Okay, precipitous drop from his rookie season. Next season gets a little better. Next season, he's back up to rookie levels. We've played 1,000 snaps each of these last 3 years. Okay, 2021, he gets hurt. So this is year one of Brad Holmes, I believe, 2021. Plays 500 snaps. 75 is good. So the PFF average score is 60. So he's 15 points above quote unquote a replacement level player. Then 22, we're back up to 1,000 snaps, 74. 2023 over 1,200 snaps, he's an 81. 2023 he was 81. 2024 77. And then 2025, he dipped back down under 1,000 each of the last 2 years at a 67. So Taylor Decker has graded out as a 70 or higher 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 10 years. So that's pretty good. I mean, that is, if you told NFL GMs, hey, we're going to give you a PFF 70 plus left tackle for 8 out of the next 10 years, would you want that? I bet that's like the second or third overall pick in the draft. So let's see here. So he is a left tackle. I don't believe that he's ever played right. Let's go back here. Stop sharing. Start sharing something else. Get rid of all these unbelievable ads. Okay. Here we go. So I'll make this bigger. No, that's the wrong way. Taylor Decker is right down here. So these are all left tackles. So if you'll notice, like Penei Sewell, not on this list. Why? Penei Sewell's a right tackle. So Taylor Decker is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. He is the 14th highest paid left tackle in the NFL. And he has played, I can't remember exactly. Let's see. He is graded out to be like, it says here this last season, which was one of his letdown seasons, he was like 67.9. He was the 41st tackle. So if you cut that in half, and let's say he's, between right tackles and left tackles, he is, the 20th best tackle in the NFL. And you're paying him like he's the 14th best, and if you look at the guys that are like going to be available in free agency, I would imagine you're going to have to pay them something akin to what Taylor Decker is making now for a lot lower level of player. So somebody like, well, let's just take a look. Maybe they're on this list. Let's see. Yeah, unless you get somebody that's on, they count Donovan Jackson as a left tackle. Really? Like unless you have a guy on a rookie contract, you're gonna have to be paying them. Wow, Wyatt Millam's a left tackle. Interesting. But basically, the point here is that Detroit has paid mid to average money on Taylor Decker to get a player that I think is graded out to be something like the 8th to 12th best left tackle in football. So I would say the contract is either very appropriate when in like a down year, or when he hits like 70 or above, it's a real deal. Like you're saving money on his talent level. And the problem that Taylor Decker has had is that occasionally he's injured. He is tough as nails. Like if you go and listen to some of the interviews that he and Frank Ragnow did last year, they were telling stories. And I think Frank Ragnow told this story about how tough Taylor Decker is by saying that at one point in the 2024 season, Decker, I think his appendix burst, and he like during a game or something, and he wouldn't go to the doctor. He wouldn't leave the game. And he played the rest of the game with a burst appendix. And then after the game, like went and had it cleaned up. I mean, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. This guy is tough, like tougher than. I mean, between Frank Ragnow and Taylor Decker, you've got two of the toughest guys I've ever heard about in the NFL. So there's that. So like if Decker retires, which will probably be at the end of this upcoming season, you're in need of a replacement, right? Boy, this light in here is bad today. So let's so what can we do? What can we do about it? Let's take a look at Taylor. So if he plays through 2026, at the end of the season, he'll cost you $6.2 million in dead cap, and you'll save almost $18 million on your cap. So they will need to, let's see, a roster bonus. Let's see, where's the roster bonus? He has like a 3.2 million roster bonus due March 17th of 2027. So my guess would be, and I believe that's after the new league year starts. So my guess would be they'll end up cutting him, or he retires before that date. Like, and if he is going to retire and is like waffling back and forth a little bit like he did this year, I would just go ahead and cut him and save 18 million bucks. Largely because you're going to address his replacement in this offseason. So let's talk about some of those replacements. Now, remember, we're shooting for a guy who is either going to be able to come in right away and perform at somewhere in the top half to 1/3 of left tackles in the NFL, or can reach that level like in the first part of his rookie contract. So let's see if we can find a guy who fits that bill. So I'm going to bring up PFF's big board, and we'll take a look at who the tackles are, and then we'll see if we can't target a particular guy. Got to share the screen. I wish that when you hit share the screen, it just did it. So here are this is the tier 1 tackles in this particular draft class. So you have Francis Mawanoa, who I've been told the G is pronounced like an N, which I don't pretend to understand, but fine, it's his name. Francis Mawanoa and Spencer Fano. These are both right tackles. I believe they both played right tackle their entire time at their respective colleges. Let's double check. Yep, Mawanoa is completely a right tackle. Fano played 500 snaps at left tackle as a freshman and then moved over to right. So these guys are right tackles almost exclusively. So if we look at Mawanoa, let's get this out of here. He is primarily a pass blocking right tackle. Okay, so that's good. We want the Lions to prioritize pass blocking over run blocking up and down their offensive line. Makes a lot of sense. But he is also proficient at run blocking. He has given up 5 sacks as a rookie, 1 as a sophomore, 2 as a junior. Okay. The hurry numbers have largely just decreased from 2024 to 2025. And he has played starter level snaps, 13 games plus each year. So an 18-game season might be, a 17-game season might be not as terrible for him to adjust to. Okay. So Francis Mawanoa, Spencer Fano, pretty much equal pass and run blocking grades, pretty much equal zone and gap grades. Just an overall exceptionally well-rounded tackle. He is 6'6", 300 pounds, though. So if you look at Decker, he's 6'7", 318. I would be surprised if Decker wasn't playing heavier than that, at year 2, year 3 of him in the NFL. And maybe Fano would probably put on some weight and strength as well. But he's lighter than a lot of tackles coming into the NFL right off the bat. Like, let's look at Mawanoa just real quick. He's 6'6", 315. So he's the size of Taylor Decker right now. Okay. So the issue with both of the tier 1 guys for Detroit is they both play right tackle. So what do you do with them? Do you say we're going to switch Penei Sewell, who played left tackle in college, over to the left side and then play each one of these 2 guys at right tackle if the Lions were to be picking with either of the tier 1 guys on the board? Or do you switch one of these guys to left tackle and keep Penei Sewell on his Hall of Fame trajectory on the right side right now, right? So, but I think either way, neither of these two tackles are in play for the Lions in round one unless they trade up. So that gives us the tier 2 guys. So the tier 2 guys, I think, are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys deep. And that's Monroe Freeling, Caden Proctor, Caleb Lomu, Blake Miller, Max Henachor, and Caleb Tiernan in some order. I don't know what the order is. I have my order. We can talk about it here in a second. But let's start with Monroe Freeling. This is the guy that I think a lot of Lions fans are really gunning for. So first off, 6'7", 315. Sound familiar? It's because that's the same size as Taylor Decker. Exceptionally good pass blocker. 85.6 pass blocking grade. Not so good in the running game. Okay, if he's going to play the left side, maybe he doesn't need to be as proficient as a run blocker. Taylor Decker is not as proficient as a run blocker as he is a pass blocker. He has played almost exclusively left tackle with some spot duty, a couple of games here and there between his freshman and sophomore seasons. But the problem is that this guy has played less than 1,600 snaps in his college career. He just does not have a lot of experience. So how do you mitigate that? Well, it would be nice if he could be drafted by a team that doesn't need to use him right away, that can draft him, and maybe give him some spot starting duty, maybe as the third offensive tackle, maybe in like a Dan Skipper role, and then like get him into a off-season routine where they can start to sculpt his body, educate him, get the game to slow down, all of those good things, and still let him see the field on special teams, on certain sub package plays and that kind of stuff. And, and then to like also be mentored by Taylor Decker for a year, and then of course, Dan Skipper is a new offensive line coach, assistant coach or something like that. I don't remember what his exact title is, but he is also would be there to help this kid along. Right. And the other thing to notice is that he went to Georgia. Tate Ratledge went to Georgia. Monroe Freeling roomed with Tate Ratledge when he was on his recruiting trip to Georgia, and he is going to Tate Ratledge's wedding after the combine. So there is, a relationship there. So we have somebody on the roster who knows him personally, which I think will give them insight, which I think will help inform their draft opinion of Monroe Freeling. So I think that this is a very likely candidate for the Lions to target in round one. Caden Proctor. Caden Proctor is enormous. 6'7", 366. I heard that he entered the season this year at 400 pounds. He has played exclusively left tackle in his time at Alabama. Pass blocker, good. He started off the season pretty rough. He started off his career pretty rough as well. He's made steady improvement, big jump from sophomore to junior year. If he can play at around 340 pounds, the Detroit Lions might have the possibility of having the two best tackles, two most athletic tackles in the NFL if they decided to draft Caden Proctor. So Alabama has kind of a reputation for allowing their tackles and offensive linemen to basically eat whatever they want. They want their offensive linemen heavy. They want them to just be strong, physically huge individuals that other collegiate teams, offense or defensive lines, just can't physically overpower. And so I think there's a possibility here that Caden Proctor's weight is less of an issue, because once the Lions get him on like a meal plan and in a weight room, I think he's probably going to slim down from wherever he is. And if that's the case, like things like foot speed and technique and all that kind of stuff are going to be easier because your body's going to be lighter. And that would mitigate a lot of the concerns about Caden Proctor that I think NFL scouts are saying that they have with him, which is like, can we trust the foot speed? Can we trust that his weight's not going to be an issue? And I think that it will not be an issue. All right, Caleb Lomu, this is the other Utah tackle. He is the left tackle, 6'6", 308, so they're the same size. Pretty good pass blocker. Not nearly the overall scores that like Monroe Freeling had, but also the problem is he is a redshirt sophomore. Yep. So he has played 2 seasons. He has right around the same number of snaps that Freeling had, which is to say not a ton. And this is another guy that would probably benefit from coming in for a year, getting 300 snaps on the field, something like that, and developing his body to where the NFL thinks, where the team thinks it's going to need to be. And but he has played left tackle, so you don't need to switch him or Penei Sewell in order for them to be familiar with the roles that they're going to play. So even though I don't think that Caleb Lomu is necessarily as talented as Freeling or Proctor, I think that there is something there that puts him in a camp that's we should keep him on the board because he allows us to keep Penei Sewell on the right side. So basically what you have is the tier 1 guys in this class are right tackles, and there's this conversation you need to have about switching them. And then the tier 2 guys all played left tackle, but they're not as talented. So this is not it's not just easy, straightforward green light. So Blake Miller, I think, is somebody that the Lions should take a hard look at. 6'6", 315, so Taylor Decker size. He's 22. He's a 4-year starter. He has played right tackle almost the entire time that he's at Clemson. Better pass blocker than he is a run blocker, yet proficient at all of them. And I have heard Pride of Detroit lead scout Eric Schlitt, whom I respect a lot, call this guy a Taylor Decker clone. And if you can get, I don't believe that he's going to be a legitimate clone of Taylor Decker, but if you told me right now Blake Miller would have a career for the next 8-9 years, 1 second, akin to what Taylor Decker has had, I would sign up for that, especially if you're looking at being able to get him in round 2, whether that means at 50 or packaging something together to move up 5 to 10 spots and take him. So this guy's pretty high up on my board for the Detroit Lions. Max Hennicher. So this guy's got a pretty unusual story. He was a JUCO kid, I believe, 6'6", 330, so he's huge. Redshirt senior, but he only started playing football 4 years ago, I think. He is brand new, and he is a starting right tackle for 3 years, it looks like, for the Arizona State Sun Devils. And he's got the height, weight, speed, the athleticism, the reach, the hand size, and we're going to get all that confirmed at the combine. And he's a better pass block. He's a better pass blocker than he is a run blocker. And if you're somebody that thinks, hey, we've got Hank Fraley, we've got Dan Skipper, plus Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker in the room for the next year, we can help accelerate this guy's learning curve while letting him develop for a year and have a red shirt season in the NFL. Yeah, there's going to be a position change that's going to be needed, but this guy has everything you might want in order to convert him to being a left tackle and a pretty good one. If he's going to continue to grow at the rate that he has shown in college, which will be tough because it's the NFL, But like that, pairing this guy with Penei Sewell might give you unbelievable athleticism at the tackle spots. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how day 2 of the draft kicks off, because like both a Hennicher and Freeling are the kind of like athletes that I want for a modern NFL left tackle. Okay, Caleb Tiernan. This is the last guy in this tier for me. He played at Northwestern, so it's a Big Ten school. I don't think that he's going to grade out athletically very well, but he is at least a 3-year starter at left tackle for the Wildcats. He's played 2,400 snaps in college at least, and if it's another season similar to this, it's more like it's over 3,000. Pretty good pass blocker, not nearly as good of a run blocker as he is a pass blocker. But I mean, if you're looking to play left tackle in the NFL, like you need to be a quality pass protector. 6'7", 325, so he is good size. He's only 23, so he's coming out pretty much that kind of like I played one more season redshirt kind of quality. Collegiate career, smart probably. I mean, I don't know that you can go to Northwestern and not be intelligent. It's a campus of only like 6,000 kids, so pretty crazy. So like if I was ranking the tier 2 tackle prospects for the Detroit Lions, my ranking would be Caden Proctor, Monroe Freeling, Blake Miller, Max Hennicher, Caleb Lomu, Caleb Tiernan. That would be how I would want the Lions to basically say, okay, if here's the 2-tier tackles, we're drafting at 17, who's on the board? Okay, it's Proctor's on the board. So Proctor and Freeling are on the board. How do we choose between the two? We've got Proctor ranked higher. We'll take Caden Proctor. So in order to test that theory out, let's jump into a mock draft here. So I love one of our fans, or our contributors, not contributors, our guys in the chat recommended this new site, mockdrafthero.com. I've kind of fallen in love with it. It's free. I really like that. It lets you use 4 different draft boards. PFF, NFL mock draft database, which is a consensus of like, I think like the top 150. Hey, what's up, fan man? I was just pumping you up, dude. I was talking about Mock Draft Hero. So I default to the Mock Draft Hero database because all the other draft boards that you can use, Pro Football Focus, Draft Tech, and Pro Football Network, are all included inside the consensus NFL mock draft database big board. So I think this is the most representative big board that you can be using prior to the NFL draft. So we're gonna kick this off here, and so our goal is to figure out how we can maximize the talent and fit for tackles in the class, maybe post combine. So then we'll take a look at what's happened in the draft up until this point. Oh shoot, Messador went pretty high. I almost swore right there. Okay, so let's take a look here at the draft. Mendoza, no problem. That's gonna happen. That's as a sure thing as any number 1 pick in any draft in the last 10 years. Jets go Reese. Okay, so here we go. First tackle off the board. The Cardinals are going to take Spencer Fano to pair alongside Paris Johnson. I almost said Paris Hilton. I think it would be hilarious if you saw Paris Hilton line up at left tackle for the Arizona Cardinals. David Bailey's the first, second edge technically off the board, if you considering whether or not you consider Arvell Reese to be an edge. Jermod McCoy. This is certainly a guy that I would like the Lions to pick up if he were to fall to 17. Maui Noah goes to the Browns, which makes a lot of sense. They definitely need any tackle or any offensive lineman. Bain, Tate, Falk. Falk is a guy that I think the Lions are going to be exceptionally interested in, especially super young, does the thing across from Aiden Hutchinson that the Lions want to do, the kind of pocket crusher. Exceptionally strong and unbelievably high character. So Caleb Downs goes to the Bengals, Delane to the Dolphins. That makes a ton of sense. Messidor goes to the Cowboys. Tyson, oh, that's crazy. Jordan Tyson going to the Rams. Howell, Vega, Makai Lemon round out the first half of the NFL first round. Okay, so what does this mean for Detroit? Well, first of all, it means that Sonny Styles is on the board. Sonny Styles just legitimately crushed the NFL Combine. If Sonny Styles is on the board and I'm the Detroit Lions, I'm drafting Sonny Styles because I want to pair him with Jack Campbell and give us what I would consider to be the best linebacking core in the NFL, especially if you're going to play nickel. So I would love to take Sonny Styles here, but I'm not going to because that's not the point of what we're trying to do right now. So let's take a look at what tackles are available. So Caden Proctor is the higher ranked tackle on this board, but if you can tell, like Caleb Lomu's 23, Freeling's 24. So let's just, for the sake of the process, see what kind of trades we could be offered. So New Orleans wants to come up from the second round to draft somebody, and we would fall out of the first rounds, which means that we're not likely to get one of our tackles. We could move down 11 spots and pick up a second round pick, which would be awesome, but I can't guarantee that we would get. Well, so I think that we would miss out on Proctor and Freeling and Lomu, which means that I would be shooting for Miller and a Henachor at 28. And I think that you're probably overdrafting those players at 28. And then this is another thing. I would love to do this trade just in general. Trade down to the last pick in the first round, pick up a second and third. If I'm Detroit, like, I might have to do that. But I mean, like, in this, the way the board fell in this one, I'm taking Sonny Styles or a tackle. So I think in this one, I don't like the trades. I really want to take Styles, but I'm going to draft Caden Proctor. So, like, if you're listening right now, do you take the more polished player in Proctor, who's enormous, but has like speed and weight concerns? Or do you take the player in Freeling, who looks like Jesus Christ designed him to be a left tackle in the NFL, but just doesn't have a ton of experience? Like, which of those two things is the easier fix? And like Freeling's not little, but he might be what you might call average for an NFL left tackle at this point. So 6'7", 315. Let's look at okay. He is recognized for his exceptional reach, mobility, and road grading power in the run game, even though like his PFF grades didn't necessarily match up with his power in the run game. Proven to be a reliable starter. Also offers significant versatility, having started at multiple positions along the offensive line in 2024, by which they mean he played right tackle for a little while. I guess that I'm more inclined to go with Freeling here, surprisingly, just because like it seems like the thing that's the number one knock against him is like his snap count, which means experience. And like if you're the Lions and you have Decker back for this year, even if it's for like, let's say it's for 12 games and he gets hurt for 5 or something like that, like you could have this guy be the Dan Skipper role and then get like 5 games starting at left tackle. And then going into 2027, assuming that Decker retires, you're going to save $18 million on Decker retiring at the end of the season. And then this kid's going to cost nothing. I mean, in comparison, let's just real quick. Let me just look this up. Draft order and rookie pools. Yeah. Okay. Close. So the 17th pick in the draft, you are paying that guy $4 million, right? 4 million. Yeah. So the Lions would pay Caleb Monroe Freeling $4 million, then $5 million, then $6 million, then $7 million over the course of 4 years. So a total of $22 million for 4 years. And you're going to sit the guy. It's kind of crazy. Proctor is shorter than Freeling and like 50. I mean, like, think about that. You know, these guys are insane athletes. Heard Tate and Freeling are already close in Geo. Georgia, is that what that means? That pairing could work. Yeah, so I've heard that like when Freeling took his recruiting visit to Georgia, he roomed with Ratledge. And then after the combine today, Freeling is going to go to Ratledge's wedding. So I mean, like, these guys are pretty close. I mean, like, if you're going to invite a dude to your wedding, you know, like, I imagine that's pretty close. So, okay, I'm talking myself into drafting Freeling, so let's just draft him. It absolutely destroys me not to take Sonny Styles there. Very, very much want Sonny Styles on the Detroit Lions. So now at 50, you don't need a tackle, right? So we'll have to see what is available. Oh, there goes Yakus. That's a bummer. Okay, so to me, the thing to do here is you can either take like an edge like Derek Moore, who I think would make some sense for the Lions, more of like a Al-Quadin Muhammad replacement. 6'4", I think he's bigger than this. 6'4", 255. Let me look up the combine results here just real quick and see what he measured in at. I believe that they are. The D line is done with their measurings. Their measurings. Combine tracker. Defensive ends. Lab results. Or does it just tell me what their height, weight, speed is? I just wish that information came in the package that you wanted in a little bit faster. All right, let's try it like this. Derek Moore combine measurements. Oh. Put the last name in, Drew. Put the last. God damn it. Let's see here. Okay. Between 6'3" and 6'4", between 255 and 260, 33 and 3/8 inch arms and 9 1/8 hands. So he's got super long arms. He's somewhere between 255 and 260. So I liked him at Michigan. I'm kind of biased. So, or you could take D'Angelo Pons or Keontae Scott. So D'Angelo Pons, everybody loves the like Spud Webb, like scrappy little guy, plays bigger than he is. Mentality that the guy has, and like I can understand Detroit liking that because they valued Amik Robertson, even though I think that Amik Robertson's probably not going to be on the team this year. I'm going to draft Keontae Scott, who I quite like from Miami. And then let's make this go faster. So once again, I'm not doing like any kind of trades or anything here, but I bet that Brad Holmes will. The problem here we have yet again in this off season is if Detroit's not likely to be a player in free agency. Ooh, Bud Clark going, Dalen Everett and Bud Clark going right in front of us was unfortunate. So this kid, Brennan Thompson, just ran a 4.26. Like maybe he's a punt returner for you. If Sam Roush is still on the board at 118, I think the Lions would take Sam Roush, no problem. So the issue that the Lions are going to have is because they traded up for Isaac TeSlaa last year, we do not have the 2 third-round picks that we would have had. Well, would we have had 3 third-round picks going into this draft? I think so. I think that we would have had 3 third-rounders in this class if we had not had traded up for TeSlaa. Which I like TeSlaa fine. I mean, don't get me wrong, but like going into this class and knowing you could have had at least 2 third-round picks is difficult. Difficult for me to wrap my head around because there's a lot of players and there's some holes on the roster that are not being solved by okay, what to do now? So these picks in this draft at this point are not relevant to what we were trying to do in this class. I'm just trying to do it to like kind of fill out the class, so to speak, and then we can take a look at the overall. This kid Taylon Green from Arkansas had a great day at the combine. Good for him. You know what? Let's just draft him. Why not? 6'6", 230. That's a round Goff size. We're going to do another mock just here in a second to see if it gives us any kind of different scenarios. But I think the fear. So I have a friend that I have at work, and he and I talk about the Lions situation quite frequently. And I think that he's done a real good job of kind of like helping like crystallize my ideas about the NFL draft. And that's like, I think that what most fans are afraid of is if the Detroit Lions don't have elite offensive line, they're not going to be a good offensive team. And my answer to that is this season, the Lions were 9-8. Frank Ragnow retired. They effectively had 2 rookie guards. Taylor Decker was hurt, dealing with an injury most of the season. And Penei Sewell was just the best tackle in football. And the Lions had the 5th highest scoring offense in the NFL. Their pass game was elite again in a season that Jared Goff took as many sacks, 36 or 38. I can't remember which one it was, which is basically 2 a game, a little more than 2 a game. And they had I believe it was a top 6, which means 6th passing offense in the NFL. The problem that the Lions had this last year was that they were not efficient running the football. Okay. So what we saw was a definitive step back on the productivity of the offensive line, and the Lions were still the 5th highest scoring offense in the NFL, they were still an elite passing offense in the NFL. And the difference was we're just not as efficient down to down as we were the year before with Ragnow and Zeitler on the offensive line. And you're not going to replace a Hall of Famer and a Pro Bowler in an offseason. And you're not going to do it this season. You know, like if they go out and sign a Connor McGovern, you know, maybe that's your Pro Bowler, but you're not going to find a Hall of Famer to replace the other interior O lineman that you lost. So it's never going to be as good. But you still have to go out and make additions to it. So, like, Decker's coming back, cool. That buys you time. So how do you use that time? Well, a lot of fans know that they're on borrowed time, and they don't want to wait until next year because you don't know who is available next year, right? And this class has some quality options to replace Taylor Decker where the Lions pick. The question, though, now becomes, do the Lions have to address Taylor Decker's replacement in round 1? The history of the NFL draft says, yeah, you do. The quality quarterbacks, edge rushers, and offensive tackles come in the top half of the first round. All 3. Once you get out of there, it's way less likely. Precipitously less. Okay. That speaks to what we just did. We took Freeling. We overdrafted Freeling. If he's the 25th best player, which is an opinion, right? We took him at 20. We took him at 17. We drafted him. We overdrafted him. We gave up value for the player or the fit, right? Fine. Not a cardinal sin by any stretch. This time, though, I'm going to see what we can do about either trading back and getting a tackle or sticking at 17 if we hit an elite player that drops to us and then trading up in round 2. But let's just go through the rest of this draft just real quickly. Keontae Scott would be a nickel corner to replace Amik Robertson. He has good size. He likes to tackle. He likes to come up and hit. He is he has big playability. I like this kid a lot. I would be very excited to have this kid on defense. Sam Roush, you have Drew Petzing coming in. Petzing will run more 13 personnel. The Lions were playing 3 third-string tight ends at the end of last year due to the injuries to Sam Laporta and Brock Wright. They should both be back, but how healthy is Sam Laporta? What is he going to look like? How healthy is Brock Wright getting toward 30? You need to start in reinvesting in this position group. Sam Roush, getting him at 118, I think is a steal. After the combine, I expect that a lot of boards are going to bump him up into a third round end of day 2 player. Caden Curry, this is another one of my prospect crushes. He's just kind of the 2-point stance pass rusher out of Ohio State. I really liked watching him play football. And like if this was your new Al-Qadim Muhammad, I'd be pretty happy about that. Trey Zune is a left tackle for Texas A&M, but he is going to convert to a center in the NFL most likely. But I like the idea of if Graham Glasgow retires, you have a guy that can both play center and left tackle on the team as a rookie contract player. So I just think that the versatility that this guy offers is off the chart for being the 180th pick in the draft. I doubt that he will be the 180th pick in the draft in reality. But if he's there at that pick, it'd be criminal, in my opinion, to not take him. Just as more like continually building on the offensive line. And if you have to cut Kobe Sorsdal in order to make room for this kid, then cut Kobe Sorsdal, you know. Hezekiah Massis, Cal has continually pumped out decent NFL defensive backs like for having a program that is continually terrible. He has good size. He's like almost 6'4", 195 pounds. I think that if you're looking for somebody to compete on special teams and maybe be like your 5th or 6th corner, this guy has a chance to do that. DJ Campbell is a very, very big interior offensive lineman from Texas, so he saw SEC competition for his collegiate career, so that's good. I believe in that. And you might be looking to move on from, so like Coyote Awashika as a free agent, right? So maybe you replace a guy like Coyote Awashika with DJ Campbell, and then at least it's a really, really cheap contract that's cost controlled for 4 years as you develop him, and then Taylon Green, like Kyle Allen is also a free agent, although I do believe he comes back to Detroit, although backup quarterback is becoming more and more popular in the NFL. And if you lose Kyle Allen or don't re-sign him by the time of the draft, somebody like this who has some upside that you don't have to invest in, who had a good combine, might be somebody that they would be interested in, So there's that. Oh, I'm not actually in the mock draft. I'm on the. Okay, so let's close this out. Let's restart. And we'll see this time. We'll see what it looks like if. Let's slow it up. Let's see what it looks like if we. Okay, so there are all the elite players that I wanted. So now we're. Oh, look at the sneaky fucking Minnesota Vikings jumping us so they could take Jeremiah Love. Did you really think we were going to take your running back? Okay, so we could take Vega Ione here from Penn State. So he is, I believe, a right tackle that you would get to play left. Or if you're going to convert Tate Ratledge to a center, here's your new Tate Ratledge, right? So he would be really, really good. He'd be a really, really good interior offensive lineman. If you're going to take that at 17, he better be good. So once again, we have Proctor, Lomu, Freeling are all on the board. But let's look at our trade options here. We can go down 6 spots to 23. We can down 4 spots to 21 and pick up a third rounder. I like that a lot. And then a nothing trade that I don't want to. So let's do this. Let's drop 4 spots. This is the quintessential trade in the first round of the NFL. Hey, we'll give you a third rounder to move up 4 to 6 spots in the first round. Lions don't have any third rounders, so yeah, I'm all about this. They took Denzel Boston. So, and then the next 3 picks, nobody took a tackle, right? So we still have, Jesus Christ, look at this. Ione, Woods, Sadiq, who also had an amazing combine, Proctor, Lomu, Messidor, who I also think would be great for the Lions, and then Monroe Freeling. So I'm going to take a look at what our trade options are again. So we can drop from 21 to 30, 21 to 32, or out of the first round. So I don't like, let's just take a look at so we would give up a first and a fourth for first and a second. So what would it look like to pick at 30? So let's see. This is a tackle. This is a tackle. This could be a tackle. That could be a tackle. Everybody's got a tackle. Let's see here. So let's just assume 1, 2, 3, 4. Would we how would we feel about drafting Max Ahenachor at say 30, right? Like I don't think that all of the tackles are going to go. So is the upside of picking up another round 2 pick? We would be trading down multiple times in round 1 to pick up essentially another 2 and another 3. I'm going to do this just for the science of it, not because I think it's what the Lions are going to do. So there goes Proctor. There goes Ione. There goes Freeling. Lomu. Okay, so let's take a look. Yep, so this is pretty much what we thought. Okay, so I can either take the Taylor Decker clone or the athletic, just started playing football upsider. Sorry you're late. Yeah, how dare you not be on time for my random podcast that I didn't know I was going to do until I got bored this morning. But welcome, Joseph. So if once again, if you have any thoughts or ideas, just throw them in the chat. Love to hear from you guys. So I think that since I picked up an extra 2 and a 3 here, I'm just going to take the clone. I'm not looking to improve upon Taylor Decker, which I think would be the upside of a Hennichor. I'm looking to just not fall off from Taylor Decker. So if that also, I'm looking for that. Like, should the Lions trying to be improving upon all of these picks? Because I feel like Blake Miller's the guy that just lets everybody go. Okay, and then a Hennichor is the guy that lets everybody be like, oh, I could kind of see it. One second. Oh my God. So I'm going to take Miller. Okay, so now we have solved the problem as to who Miller was good in the interviews, whatever that is. I mean, I think it's worth something, so we have see, like, a Hennichor lasted all the way to 48. Right? So if you're the Lions and you went back to the pick 30 and you're like, we're going to take Kenyon Sadiq because, Laporta got hurt, give Petzing another weapon. Why not? And then it's like, oh, since we have a 3rd round pick, and another 2nd round pick, we have ammo to move up in round 2. We could have waited to see, we could have waited until pick 40 and said, okay, let's try and move up and get a Hennichor. I'm just saying that those options exist. Okay, so who's on the board here? Oh, Dylan Tiedemann. That's it. So this kid is Kirby Joseph Insurance. Welcome to Detroit. I don't know that. I'm hearing that Dylan Tiedemann's getting 1st round buzz after his combine workout where he just looked liquid. So, oh man. We could take Max Clare, more of a receiving tight end than anything else. Jake Slaughter, in one of his interviews, said that he tried to model his game on Frank Ragnow, which is nice, but also you're not nearly as big as Frank Ragnow. But okay, so let's see. There's a lot of guys in this range that I think are good players. Isaiah World tore his ACL, so he won't be up here. He probably won't get drafted. I don't like Jake Golday because I think he's a pass rushing. Yeah, he's just not a coverage linebacker when I think we need a coverage linebacker. Is Jacob Rodriguez a coverage linebacker? Doesn't say that he is. Connor Liu just ripped his ACL, so I don't know that he'll be ready to go, so I don't want to draft him. I like Kamari Ramsey quite a lot, but I already took Tiedemann. Let's just see what a trade looks like. We can trade down from 62 to 80, so that's 18 spots. We pick up some day 3 picks. 62 to 86, that's a different version of the other trade. Or we can trade down 3 spots and pick up a 6th rounder. I'm just going to do that. We took Nussmeier. Okay, nothing on the board changed for us. We could take AJ Halsey here, and then we would be 4 deep at safety, which I think that's probably too much. Claire's on the board. I'll just take Slaughter at 76. Brian Parker is also another guy that is a left tackle at Duke, but converting to center. I'll just take Slaughter. Malachi Lawrence. Is that who you were talking about? The guy from UCF? The pass rusher? We can look at him when the board stops here in a second. Oh, there goes Chandler Rivers. That's a bummer. I think Chandler Rivers would be a good player for the Lions. Kyle Lewis is a guy that's had some Lions connections. Oscar Delp's another guy that's had some Lions connections. Okay, Malachi Lawrence is right here. 6'4", 253. Known for his explosive first step and ability to win with violence at the point of attack. He's proven to be a reliable pass rusher over 39 career games. He enters the draft as a highly decorated prospect with a total of 20 career sacks. Okay. Doesn't sound exactly like the kind of pass rusher that the Lions have typically gone for, but I am now on the train of they need to go for more pass rush first pass rushers as opposed to like this crush the pocket kind of mentality that they have adopted. So yeah, I could understand somebody like Malachi Lawrence being like if they picked up a 3rd round pick, like being used on a guy like that. Yeah, that would be I'd be pretty thrilled with that, I think. So let's see here. Who have we picked? We have picked Blake Miller, Dylan Tiananmen, and Jake Slaughter. So we could use an edge, which doesn't appear to be on the board, nor probably should it be. So Anthony Lucas is another one. Well, he says 256, but Lucas is highly regarded for his elite raw power at 256 and ability to set a firm edge at 256 against the run. Trace made him a 5-star recruit. While his disruption at the point of attack is a clear strength, scouts are looking for more consistent pass rush refinement and to fully unlock his high ceiling potential. Okay, so for like one of the last picks in the 3rd round. Oh, look, by the way, this Jaguars pick, that's from Detroit last year. So like if we're not able to get pass rushers like a Malachi Lawrence, right, then the other thing that Detroit would benefit from, in my opinion, is going really, really hard into the coverage side of things. Coverage linebackers, coverage corners, safeties, like anything that you can, because the Lions were like second to last or dead last in like how quickly their pressure got to the quarterback last season. And the thing that might buy them that time in between getting pressure and stopping the play is better coverage. I just don't see any defensive linemen here that I'm really interested in. Let's say Deontay Lawson. Is he known for defensive signal caller? You won't have to do that. Showcasing high football IQ, good athleticism, reliable tackler. His primary weakness is the concern over his durability and his need to improve his technique and shedding blocks more consistently at the line of scrimmage. Durability is a concern. This kid, Traden Stukes, I've heard good things about. Scouts highlight his exceptional ball instincts and leadership as high-level traits that anchor a secondary's primary weaknesses. History of minor injuries that have cost him several games over the last 2 seasons. I mean, 6'1", 190. I mean, can this guy come in and compete with like Ennis Rakestraw and if a Meek's not on the team next year, I mean, what does it really happen? And we don't really know what's going on with Terrion Arnold. If Terrion Arnold is ever found out to have like green lit that kidnapping and assault, I'm all done. Stukes ran fast. So you've been watching the combine, Joseph? That's cool. I really wish that I could watch the combine. I think it would be an excellent learning opportunity for me. I just, for whatever reason, don't want to pay to do it or have the time. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I'd really love to learn the like ins and outs of like certain position groups, like mostly defensive ends, defensive tackles. Like I'm so much more a defensive guy, like as a mindset, than I am an offensive offensive guy. So, all right, let's just double check with what we've done here so far. We have taken Miller, Tiedemann, Slaughter, and Stuke. So the secondary, I think, has been pretty well taken care of. Although I continue to want to take care of it more. Oh, okay. So this is pretty easy. This guy, Nate Borkirker, I don't think he'll be here at this point, but like, just a good overall. His draft highlights technical proficiency as a blocker. Like, oh no! Oh, thank Christ. Here's yet another reason to like this site. Is that it lets you undo a misclick. Oh, that's huge. Thank you guys for not making fun of my effeminate scream when I fucked up. Oh, boy. Ephesians Prysock. That is a name, dude. What a name. What a name. We took Slaughter. Okay, so my problem was with if you don't go defense early, you're not going to get. I just don't think you're going to get any good like defensive lineman late. Okay, so let's look at this kid, Lander Barton. Lauded for his sideline to sideline range and high football IQ. Needs to improve against shedding blocks. Well, I'm going to take him because he might be a Alex Anzalone replacement. So this guy sounds like Aiden Fisher sounds like the exact same scouting report as Barton did. And I think that Tucker, did he go off the board? The Western Michigan kid. He's probably off the board. Filter by position. Edge. All right. Yeah, he came off at 132. So, but good suggestion. I do think that he had like his like pass rush win rate this last year was insane. Nadami Tucker, he played in the MAC, but I mean, like, sometimes you just got to overlook it. Could go Reardon or Raritan. Just continue to fill out the tight end room. Another pick right now. Lots of players. My goodness gracious. This kid, Robert Spears Jennings, kind of a turnover creator. Always be nice. 258. Get that sweet, sweet value. So Lions got a couple picks yet. So do you guys have any prospect crushes? You guys have guys that you're just like, oh, look This player in a Detroit Lions uniform just would make me so happy. Anybody like that for you? Keegan Tross. Interesting names people have. Yeah. I don't know that the Lions are gonna don't hold my feet over the fire on some of these late round picks, okay? Okay, so here's what we did. We traded down, we took Blake Miller. We picked up Dylan Tiedemann with the our second round pick. We traded down again, just a couple spots, and we took Jake Slaughter. So that's either he's a starting center or he is a high level backup center, right? Fine. Took this kid Traden Stukes with a third rounder that we picked up to compete in the secondary room. Nate Borkirker, Eli Raridan, our additions to the new tight end group. Lander Barton, special teamer slash potential Alex Anzalone insurance, an edge, a wide receiver, and another tackle, just to kind of round stuff out with not a lot of. Sam Roush, yeah. Sam Roush, I think, would be an excellent addition to this team. The problem, I think, is that his combine that he's had is probably going to push him up into day 2, and the Lions don't have a third round pick. So unless they're going to take Roush at 50, which I think would be a severe overdraft, I think that he's not likely to be a Detroit Lion. But I would love for him to be one. There goes Falk. There goes McCoy. Where'd Caleb Downs go? Oh, 10 of them. All right, I'm taking Sonny Styles here for the fun of it. And we'll just see what naturally happens at 50. No, the Eagles getting Kenyon Sadiq. That's hilarious. There goes Blake Miller. Will Henniger make it to 50? Nope. Well, that was the last. Well, so Tiernan's the last guy on the board, right? So you take Caleb Tiernan. I mean, I think that's what it's going to come down to is something like this. Like, let's just restart the whole thing. So, like, let's see. Okay, we'll just see what the board does. Arvell Reese is still on the board. Is this the Caleb Downs draft? Oh, the Jets took him, you sluts. So who'd the Jets get? Carnell Tate and Caleb Downs. Gross. All right. Trade down one spot. Pick up a 5 and a 6. Trade down 5 spots, pick up a 3. Trade down 14 spots, pick up a 2 and a 4. All right, let's just trade down. Yeah, so they wanted Freeling. Okay, that makes sense. There goes Leone, Lomu, Proctor. So we could take Miller, take it to Hennicher. The problem is we didn't get a pick after or before our second rounder. Like, I would very much like to take Emmanuel McNeil Warren here. Lee Hunter is, I know I hear the cries from other Lions fans. They're like, you can't take Lee Hunter. We have defensive tackles. Like, you're paying McNeil, you drafted Tyleik Williams, you can't take another DT. And I'm just like, I think that guy is going to be, I think that guy's going to be a Pro Bowler. I think that Lee Hunter is going to be a Pro Bowler. I mean, like, how are you not supposed to take, if you're anybody that's like, you can't take this guy at this pick because of position, is not a best player available guy, right? So if Brad is a best player available, you know what? Let's do that. Hang on. This is what I've always wanted to have this debate. Let's just restart this. Let's take a look at what fucking best player available really means. Okay? Let's take a look at it. Okay. Who's the best player on the board? The best player on the board is Jeremiah Love. Okay? So if the Detroit Lions are best player available drafters, they need to take Jeremiah Love here. He's clearly the best player on the board. Some people have him as the best player in the draft. Right. So Joseph Ostin's like, no way. No way. Well, you can't take Jeremiah Love. I agree. I mean, you have David Montgomery and you have Jahmyr Gibbs on the roster. You can't take Jeremiah Love. You cannot take him. Yet clearly, he is the best player on the board. So if Detroit is we take the best player available, how do you not take Jeremiah Love here? How do you not take him? Even if it means, so like if you take Jeremiah Love and then you get rid of David Montgomery somehow, you cut him, you trade him for a day 3 pick or whatever. Right, Brad's big board, right, is all that counts. Completely agree. We never know what Brad's big board is. Right? So Brad is not going to have all of these players on his big board, okay? So let's say Peter Woods, Kenyon Sadiq are on his board. You take those guys? You take Peter Woods here, 17. Inside, outside versatility. They love that with their defensive linemen. You could line Peter Woods up at edge, even though he's enormous. Yeah, more likely than running back. I completely agree with that, right? But this is the thing about best, like, this is so like my issue here, and I'm kind of bitching about this a little bit, is that like when I hear people say, like, when I say, hey, the Lions should draft. Okay, hang on one second. Let me help me out. I'm not completely sold on the can't take a DT line. Aleem Lopez Tyleik isn't a full room, and Reader's gone. Levi isn't real. Wingo doesn't play. One more T would be nice. So that is how I look at it, is that you have 2 starters. You have Williams and McNeil are clear-cut starters, right? So then what do you do about Onwuzurike, Pascal, Lopez? Who else did you say? Wingo, right? Wingo's had injury issues, and that kind of stuff. So what do you do? When's the right time to invest, even though like guys like Pascal, Onwuzurike, and Wingo are still on the roster? Those are 3. Well, I guess technically Onwuzurike is not a rookie contract anymore, but like those are 3 guys you're not paying a lot. So why not add a better player at who would be the cheapest one of them all? I'm with you. So I'm going to go back to my complaining about best player available just real quickly. So, like, if I say Sonny Styles is on the board, which he won't be, at 17, the Lions should take him. Alex Anzalone's leaving. The kid blew up the combine. Pairing him with Jack Campbell would make the Lions one of the best linebacking units in the NFL for the next 5 years. Like, let's do that. But it's not a tackle. It's like best player available gets thrown around as an excuse so often by people who just don't like the fact that you're not picking the player they like. And it drives me nuts to like, oh, Sonny Styles is very clearly like, we had that in like one of the previous drafts we did. Sonny Styles magically was on the board. He's the best player on that board, regardless of Brad's board or the consensus or whatever, right? But he's not a tackle, right? So, like, if that happened to the Lions and they take Sonny Styles, there will be a huge chunk of the fan base that's like, no, he's not a tackle. No, I'm upset because he's not a tackle. No, why would you take a linebacker when you could take a tackle? No, and it's like best player available. And it's just this whining, whinging, bitching thing when like if the Lions take a tackle this year, yeah, you're probably solving a problem in 2027, but you're not using your first round pick to like become better immediately. So if you are a best player available or a win now proponent, you cannot be saying take a tackle with the way that some of these boards fall. Like it just doesn't line up logically. Sorry. Okay. Rant over. I can make an argument for Kenyon Sadiq here. Sam Laporta, excellent pick. He has a fully herniated disc in his spine. He should be ready to go by minicamp, he said. If you're the Lions and there's any doubt that Sam Laporta is going to look like Sam Laporta before the herniated disc, do you need the pass-catching tight end to make the offense work? Now, I would say no, because the Lions just had the 5th highest scoring offense in the league and a top passing attack without Sam Laporta last year. I don't think that he's crucial to what the Lions are trying to do. I think that he's a nice addition. I think that he helps out doing with what the Lions are trying to do, but I don't think that he's a pillar. Great player, love the player, glad he's on the team. I just don't think that he's like the Amon-Ra St. Brown of the offense when it's clearly St. Brown is the guy that you've committed to financially and makes the offense work the way that it's designed to work, right? So, let's say these guys weren't on the board and it's Denzel Boston is the clear, here's the best player on the board. You got to take him. He's the best player. Or whatever. And if Brad's board, and I agree with you, Joseph, that like Brad's board Brad's board's not going to reflect the NFL like consensus rankings, right? And, like the consensus rankings are just an opinion for all available players to be drafted. Brad's board is not going to include all players that are eligible to be drafted, right? They're going to do interviews, they're going to get medicals, and that's going to rule people out, right? They're going to do background checks, they're going to check on like culture fits, and that's going to rule people out. There's going to be people who are hurt that it's going to rule people out, or people that like didn't play in college the way that the Detroit Lions want to play in the NFL, and that's going to rule them out from the Lions draft board, right? But yet, when we can't know what the Lions board looks like, it makes it really hard to say this guy's off their board. And like Brad has continuously drafted players that I never would have thought would have been on the board. Excuse me. So I guess the point is that like I don't know, right? Like, okay, so there's this report that David Montgomery wants out of Detroit. So let's see what he said. First of all, can I get your guys' help on something? Like, I don't understand. I'm going to share my screen here real quick. So this right here. Damn, DMO told you that. Is that supposed to be like, damn, don't know who told you that? I don't know what this means. Like David Montgomery typed this out, and I have no idea what he's trying to convey here. What I don't understand. Damn. And then this, to me, if I was typing it out, I'd be like, who told you that? So the thing about this that makes it seem like trash to me. So first of all, underdog NFL, not a huge fan. Is that it says right here, Detroit would want a decent day 3 pick for David Montgomery. That sounds, if that's true, that's a pretty rich return, in my opinion, for a non-elite player in the NFL. I like David Montgomery. Like I'd go buy his jersey right now if I knew that he was going to be on the Lions next year. But like, I have no idea who would be talking to Jeremy Fowler from the Lions organization. That's like, yeah, no, if David wants out, we'd hope to get a 5th rounder back for him. Really? I mean, like, that seems rich compared to like some of the trades that I've seen. Maybe it's right on the nose. But like this kind of stuff keeps coming up. So like I have a hard time believing that this is just completely fabricated, like a complete lie. What this seems like to me is David Montgomery's like, we want leverage here, right? And so he's telling his agent to leak it or something to that effect, to just keep it out there. And like, I think that this is not resolved, is I guess my opinion. Which to me says Detroit hasn't gone to David Montgomery and been like, oh, we're going to make sure that you get what would be crazy, 400 carries next year. You know, that's, what is that? What is 400 divided by 17? 400 divided by 17 is 23 carries a game. So that's just no way. So like, let's just say 300. Yeah, even that's crazy. Let's say 225 divided by 17 is 13. So if you went to like if Detroit didn't go to David Montgomery and say, we're going to give you 200 plus carries this year, maybe he doesn't want to be around. You know, like I think that like if the split between, first of all, I don't understand why the carries can't be a split between David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Like in the seasons where they were closer to 50-50, like you can still play Jahmyr Gibbs more and have him be like the outlet, dump off, wide receiver, you know, or motion him out. And like you can play 12, 11, 12, or 13 personnel and have both of these guys in the game. And I just don't understand why I just don't understand why the Detroit Lions didn't use David Montgomery more last year. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Like, he is the type of power back that is like, I'm going to get 2 yards and then fall forward. So it's like 3 yards, like virtually every time. And Jahmyr Gibbs, for as explosive as he is, and I do appreciate his explosiveness, there are so many times last year on like 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th and 2, like they would run Jahmyr Gibbs between the tackles and a linebacker would hit him and he would just stop. And it's like, okay, like we're not trying to hit a home run right here. Why don't you put David Montgomery in the game? Doesn't David Montgomery get you a better chance at 4th and 2, 3rd and 2 than Jahmyr Gibbs does? I have to say yes. I just have to. Like, and I have to believe that. And just like, if you put 5 300-pounders in front of either of those two players, I think David Montgomery is the guy that's like better equipped to get you 2 yards. If we're about to make Gibbs the highest paid running back and then let him slip carries with Demo, I might riot. Okay, let's just take a look at that. So I think that that Jahmyr Gibbs might be in line to be the highest paid running back in the NFL. That seems completely legit, right? Hard to argue that. So let's see what that looks like. Let's see. I am ready for spring. Fuck winter. I hate it. It's dry. It's gray. It's boring. I'm done. The older I get, the faster I get done with it. I don't like it. Okay. David Montgomery, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, is the 12th highest paid running back in the league at $9 million. If you make Jahmyr Gibbs the highest paid running back in the NFL, and let's just say it's $21 million a year. So 4 years, $21 million, 84, 4 years, 84, something like that, right? I do not believe that Jahmyr Gibbs is twice as valuable as David Montgomery. Do you? Do you believe that Jahmyr Gibbs is worth 2 of David Montgomery? I say no. I think he's worth more than 1 of them, but I don't think he's worth 2 of them. So if you're going to pay Jahmyr Gibbs twice what David Montgomery is being paid, I call it a mistake. I say bullshit, shenanigans. Now, I will also say that you should be able to go out into the NFL draft and find a running back that does David Montgomery things on day 3. Okay, let's see. I'm not saying lose Montgomery, but I need him to have about 150 to 200 carries this season because Gibbs needs 15 to 20 carries a game. So Montgomery and maybe someone else gets the final 10. So there's not going to be anybody else, right? There's not going to be anybody else. Craig Reynolds was the 3rd guy in Detroit. He didn't get 10 carries a game. He didn't factor into any games unless the Lions were wrapping it up and just needed to run out the clock, right? So I understand what you're saying, but like all of the carries and the meaningful snaps will be between these 2 guys. So let me just look up what David Montgomery had for carries last year. He had 158 carries last year, which is 31st in the NFL. So he is very clearly upset at that number, right? Doesn't think that he was utilized the way that he wants to be utilized in the NFL. So he has to be. David Montgomery. It wasn't enough carries. Agreed. 100%. It wasn't enough carries. So David Montgomery is going to have to get closer to 200 carries in a season. Otherwise, he's just going to be mad, right? Which I have a hard time arguing against. But, like, here's the thing about Jahmyr Gibbs. So let's look up Gibbs. You know, he's a big part of this. Did I misspell Gibbs? Isn't it Jahmyr? Jahmm, yeah. Gibbs had 243 carries. So let's say you could give each of them 200 carries, right? I do think we will grab a late day 3 running back who can do some Monty-like things, and that rookie with Monty will get about 10 snaps a game. I'll take that bet. I'll take the rookie gets 10 snaps a game bet. I will not take they draft a guy that is like does David Montgomery things bet. I won't do that. But if they do take him where we agree, I don't think that he will see snaps on the field if either of those other two guys would be in a position to get those snaps. There just isn't room for Monty to touch the ball anymore. I just disagree with that. So here's the reason is that let's see. Jahmyr Gibbs was targeted in the passing game. How many targets do you think that Jahmyr Gibbs got in the passing game last season? Anybody have a guess? Ballpark area? How many times we threw the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs? I'll give it a minute to see if anybody wants to get like a guess into the chat. Don't look it up, though. 4? No, not 4. Over the course of the season, how many times they threw the ball at Jahmyr Gibbs? 4 seems a bit low. I'll give it one more minute. Not per game, just total for the season. Yeah, how many times did they throw the ball at Jahmyr Gibbs over the course of the entire season last year? Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. 92. They threw the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs 92 times last year. However many times they threw it to Gibbs, it certainly wasn't enough. He needs to be featured heavily this year. He was featured too heavily last year. So the problem with the Lions last year was not that their offense, their running game didn't create explosive plays and didn't score points. The problem the Lions had in their running game last season was that their running game was less efficient on a down-to-down basis. That is the problem. Detroit's the problem that Detroit needs to fix with Drew Petzing as their offensive coordinator, with the free agent market, with the draft, is how do we make our running game more efficient? Not more explosive, not how do we feature Jahmyr Gibbs more. I would argue that featuring Jahmyr Gibbs made the offense less efficient. No, that's not that the offensive line failed Gibbs. Is that a part of it? Yeah, it probably plays into it. But Jahmyr Gibbs and the style that he runs in and the way that he is used is not as efficient as the way that David Montgomery is used in the same offense. That is the problem. What I feel like you are arguing for, Detroit fan man, is that we need Jahmyr Gibbs in the game so that we can manufacture explosive plays. End of sentence. Because that is what Jahmyr Gibbs is good at. Right? And the problem is that the Detroit Lions offense is not one that generates explosive plays. It is one that generates highly efficient, down to down, marching down the field type of offense to get them into the red zone where they can then score points. Right. So if you're on team Jahmyr Gibbs and feature him constantly, then just run him into the ground and have him on the team for like 5 years and then cut him, because at the rate that he'll be seeing snaps, he'll burn up his body by the time he's 30. So if you want the Lions offense to continually function like the way that it did last year, then fine. But then don't complain about the offensive line, because you can get Jahmyr Gibbs to do what he did last year with almost any offensive line in the NFL. In my opinion, he's going to break enough 20-plus yard runs because he's faster and shiftier than the dude in front of him. If you have offensive linemen that can just simply get their hat on their opposing defensive lineman's hat, Gibbs can break enough explosive runs or be thrown the ball to enough times to do what we just did last year. So if you want the Lions offense to be better, don't come to me and say, well, we need to get better offensive linemen for Jahmyr Gibbs. You don't. Right. He did that last year with a subpar offensive line. Why would I think that we would need to get better at offensive line then? A running back's never going to win MVP in the NFL ever again. So that's a quarterback award. So if they have a good offensive line, then why not go back to the efficient down and distance? The Lions want to be able to go for, like, the way the Lions offense wants to work is to be like, oh, it's 3rd and 6. Well, we can call a play to get 4 yards, then go for it on 4th down. That's not Jahmyr Gibbs. That's a David Montgomery offense. That's the reason they went out and got David Montgomery in free agency, was because David Montgomery is to the running game what Amon-Ra St. Brown is to the passing game. What you are arguing for, and what I think a lot of Detroit Lions fans are arguing for, is that what this offense really should be is like a Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs style offense. Like, if you want the big explosive plays and then like 4 out of 10 times nothing happens, then like give the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams. If you want to consistently march down the field and get first downs, then give the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown and David Montgomery. Those are the two things. Those are the two sides of the coin. Right? So, like, if you got better offensive linemen, everybody on the offense is going to play better. So, I mean, like, that's great. But, like, it also means that David Montgomery would be better, which doesn't solve our problem, which is that when Detroit lines up on 3rd and 1 and they let Jahmyr Gibbs run through the between the tackles in the A or B gaps, when he gets hit, he's not going forward, he's going backwards. And, like, I love the guy. He's super fast and, like, he's super elusive. But he's not going to get you a 3rd and 1 conversion when you run him between the tackles. And the draft better offensive lineman argument is, we'll take that off of Jahmyr Gibbs' responsibility. And the problem is that when you have 5 offensive linemen and the defense has 4 down linemen and 2 linebackers because they're a nickel or whatever, they have a man advantage. And if that's David Montgomery running the football, and the linebacker hits him, well, David Montgomery is like 10 or 15 pounds lighter than most linebackers in the NFL. So when he hits you with those turkey drum legs of his, the linebacker's going backwards, and Jahmyr Gibbs cannot generate enough speed. He'd have to be shot out of a literal cannon to generate enough power to make that 240-pound linebacker go backwards. That's just my opinion. But like when you go back 2 years ago and you look at the efficiency, yeah, they had Frank Ragnow, they had Kevin Zeitler, and they ran David Montgomery a lot. So if you want a better offensive line, give the ball back to David Montgomery a little bit around like the 175 to 200 times and let Jahmyr Gibbs have it. He caught the ball 77 times last year. Jahmyr Gibbs touched the ball 300 times last year in games. You know, and the Lions offense took a step back. And like, I'll agree losing Ragnow and Zeitler contributes to that. But if you can't agree that like, oh, you know, they stopped giving the ball to David Montgomery, that was a choice. That wasn't David Montgomery was hurt and he can't carry the ball. This offense force-fed Jahmyr Gibbs the ball constantly last year, and the offense got worse. As far as like running the ball efficiently, as far as like red zone opportunities. The offense went from like, we're going to march down the field, get into the red zone, be efficient in the red zone, and power the ball into the end zone, to now, when we get close to the red zone, we have to create an explosive play to get into the end zone. It's just not the same kind of offense at all. That's why Morton got fired. It's why I was shocked that when Dan Campbell took over the play calling responsibilities for the last 2 years, or for the last 2/3 of the season, we didn't see an uptick in Montgomery. And that's a failing on Dan Campbell, in my opinion, as well. You have a dude Brad Holmes prioritized getting as a free agent in David Montgomery. The dude's an amazingly efficient running back, and you're just not going to use him? You're going to trade him for a round 6 pick somewhere? Now, okay, if you told me, so like if you're not going to give the ball to a David Montgomery-esque running back, whether it's David Montgomery or some rookie or some free agent signing, there's no reason to have that player on the roster if they're not going to get the ball enough to impact the actual game. Give the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs 350 times, 400 times in a season. I bet it looks just like this. You know, and Lord help us if like other teams in the division or the conference, quote unquote, figure out Jahmyr Gibbs. If they figure out a way to be like, well, if you put a 5-man down defensive line, like what the Patriots did to the Rams in that Super Bowl, to bottle up Todd Gurley. And now I understand that Todd Gurley and Jahmyr Gibbs are not the same kind of runner. But if you take away the lanes for Jahmyr Gibbs to use, it's there's nowhere for him to go. You know, like the Lions, in my opinion, become more one-dimensional with Jahmyr Gibbs on the field as opposed to having both of these guys being able to affect the game. I think it's a mistake for them to trade or phase out David Montgomery. Jahmyr Gibbs is great. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be the 1A back, but it has to be more equitable than it was last year. And like this is the I mean, so like the Lions were 9-8, right? So Jared Goff throws for 4,500 yards, has a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio and a great completion percentage, right? Oh, Jared Goff's stats are so good. Why is the team 9-8? It's not because of Jared Goff's stats. Jared Goff has great stats. Oh, Jahmyr Gibbs. Let's look at what Jahmyr Gibbs did last season. He rushed for 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns, fumbled twice. Those are all fine. He had 27 10-plus yard runs. Really good. He caught 77 passes for 600 yards and 5 more touchdowns. So he scored 18 touchdowns, right? He had 18 touchdowns, and 616 plus 1,200 is 1,850 yards from line of scrimmage. And the offense got worse at running the ball. If you call the same kinds of plays and the same quantity of plays, but improve the offensive line next year, it's not going to change the efficiency of how well they run the ball. They're going to pay Gibbs more than Barkley and CMC because he's the next running back up for a big contract. And you know what happens once he signs his contract? Then 4 days later, Bijan Robinson signs his contract, and now Gibbs is the number 2 guy. So think about this. Yes, I agree. They're going to pay Jahmyr Gibbs top of the market money. Brad Holmes has proven that he is going to give pillars on the team top of the market money, right? Kirby Joseph, Aiden Hutchinson, Penei Sewell, Lee McNeil, Monroe St. Brown. I'm probably missing one guy in there or something at this point, but he's going to give top of the position group money to guys that show that they've earned it. Jahmyr Gibbs has shown it. Yes, I agree. But the difference between Saquon Barkley and even CMC is that those guys can get hit and still move forward, and Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't. That's the difference. That is the difference. When you hit Saquon Barkley with a linebacker, he can shake that dude off. That is the difference. Jahmyr Gibbs produces like Saquon Barkley and CMC. He does. He does not produce in the same way. That is the point. The point is not that he doesn't produce. The point is how the production happens. Okay? It's not what, it's how. And the how with Jahmyr Gibbs needs to change from players like CMC and Saquon Barkley, because those two guys, more so Barkley than CMC, include things that David Montgomery does well. David Montgomery has to be on the team because Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't do those kinds of things very well. He does other things better. He's a better receiver. He is faster. Straight line speed, he is faster. All to the good. Those are not bad things. The problem is when the Detroit Lions need to either set up a 4th down or convert on a 3rd down, Jahmyr Gibbs is not as good at doing that in short yardage situations as David Montgomery is. But you can get Monty-like things from a day. You can. You're right. You absolutely can. So why did they go out and sign Monty in free agency? If you can get that as a day 3 pick, right? They signed Sione Vaki, right? Sione Vaki was a 4th round pick. They traded a future pick for the ability to sign Vaki. They converted him from safety to a running back. How come Vaki doesn't have the let's look up Vaki just real quick. Sione Vaki. So there he is, Sione Vaki. 6 foot, 208 pounds. So not quite as big. Not quite as big. Let's see. Sione Vaki on offense, not special teams, on offense, has played 30 snaps in 2 seasons in Detroit. He has run the ball 8 times. I think we should still be shopping for running back 3. I agree. I agree with you. Craig Reynolds has left the team. He got signed on waivers. He didn't sign on waivers. He got something happened and he got signed. He must have been on the practice squad or was cut or was hurt. And New England picked him up, right? Right? So the difference is that, like, when Brad Holmes is setting up the offense and trying to get the right players who do the right things for this offense, he made a point to go out and sign David Montgomery in free agency. If he can get a guy that does David Montgomery things on day 3 of the draft, he has deliberately not done it to this point. His first draft, they had Jamar Jefferson. They have signed. They had a UDFA, Jacob Sawyers. He's basically a kick returner. He drafted Sione Vaki, converted him from a safety to a running back, and he has not over 2 years does not have 10 carries in the NFL. So, who else is on the team? Well, let me go look up the roster here. Roster, Detroit Lions, running backs. Jacob Sawyers, Jabari Small, Kai Robichaux, 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 Gibbs, Vaki, and Montgomery. So Jacob Sawyers is a kick returner, 5'11", 199. What's David Montgomery? 5'11", 224. Okay. So Robichaux, 6 foot 217. Jabari Small is 5'11", 213. Sawyers is 5'11", 199. Gibbs is 5'9", 200. Right? So David Montgomery, and we could quibble over the size and all that kind of stuff, is the only body type of that type of running back on the roster. Yeah, I agree that Vaki is a special teamer for life too. Yeah, Mike Washington just had a really good combine. I would love to have him on the team. Even if David Montgomery is still on the team, I would love to have Mike Washington on the team. He's a good player. Doesn't matter if you don't give him the ball enough to affect the offense. You can go get offensive linemen. You can go get Mike Washington or David Montgomery clone. And if you do not use them to affect the down and distance as this team has consistently over the course of the season, it will not matter. Right? So this is like, hey, we have Jameson Williams on the team. He's a deep threat. Well, they don't throw him the ball deep hardly ever. Mostly because, defenses play too high to prevent it, and Jared Goff can't throw the ball that far. So, so why is Jameson Williams on the team? He's a threat of the deep pass. He's primarily a decoy 80% of the time. But he's still valuable as a decoy. David Montgomery, when you put him out on the field, is not valuable simply by being on the field the way that Jameson Williams is. You have to give him the ball for him to have value. Wait, if they, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they go out and make this huge fucking investment in the offensive line, and then they're not the 24th most efficient running game in the NFL anymore. So let's just see here. So what did you just claim? I think Monty can affect the offense more with as many touches. simply because the OL is going to improve. I want to try and convince Monty that 5-10 snaps is enough since but he's already upset about getting 5 to 10 snaps a game. Like, what are you gonna what? How are you going to convince David Montgomery that hey, we're going to give you the ball the exact same amount as last year? Just be okay with it. Because unless you're going to pay him more to shut up, what's the pitch? Like, we're going to win more games? You just want a bunch less. Right? So, like, Jahmyr Gibbs went from how do I look this up? This is just snap counts. We'll go back. No, not run blocking. Rushing. Here we go. Okay, so this is interesting. Let me bring up Montgomery and we'll do side by side here. This is interesting. Maybe. Where's rushing? Okay, so in 2024, so 2024, right? That's 2 years ago. We had Ragnow and Zeitler on the team, right? Okay. So in 2024, Montgomery had 192 carries. He had 158 carries this year. His yards per attempt with a worse version of the offensive line went up by 0.3 yards per carry. So he went from 4.2 yards per carry in 2024 to 4.5 with the Graham Glasgow, Tate Ratledge offensive line, right? The difference is he got 26 fewer rushing snaps this year. So that's what? Just over somewhere like 1.5 a game. So that's not crazy. Let's see. He had 18 10-plus yard runs in 2024. He had 15 in 2025. Now let's take a look at Gibbs. I'm sure Gibbs will be better. Gibbs had 264 attempts in 2024. So that is 70 attempts more than Montgomery did in 2024. He had a 5.7 yards per attempt. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. So I mean, like, I'm not trying to wear you down to win the argument. What I'm trying to do is to say, like, let's look at what made the Lions effective and repeat that to the best of our ability. And in my opinion, it's so like, okay, so but like, let's just continue to look at this just real quick. So like Jahmyr Gibbs with the Ragnow Zeitler line had a 5.7 yards per carry. He rushed for 1,500 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, since he's been in the NFL, has rushed for 1,000, 1,500, and 1,200 yards. You know, like, that's ridiculous. And I think outside of 2023 was the only year that David Montgomery was given more carries than Jahmyr Gibbs. So Jahmyr Gibbs' rookie season, he does not carry the ball more than David Montgomery. Sophomore, junior years, or second and third years in the NFL, he's very clearly the guy that has had more carries, right? Okay, I'm not saying that he shouldn't get more carries. Here's my point. With the Zeitler line, Jahmyr Gibbs loses 0.7 yards per attempt. from a really, really good line with a Hall of Famer and a Pro Bowler on it to the line that we had yesterday. You had 5 yards per attempt. That's great. 5 yards per attempt is great. But he went down in efficiency. David Montgomery with the same line improved his efficiency from year to year. Just want to note Zeitler Ragnow were more effective than Glasgow Ratledge is the juiciest understatement of this episode. I get it. I'm with you. Like, there's no way that like a Ragnow Zeitler pairing at those positions, no one will ever say that Glasgow Ratledge is anywhere near, the Ragnow Zeitler pairing. Like, that's just crazy. The point is, though, is that when you made that conversion from Ragnow Zeitler to Glasgow Ratledge, Jahmyr Gibbs lost yards per attempt by almost a yard, 3/4 of a yard. And David Montgomery improved. Not a ton, but he got more when the line got worse and Jahmyr Gibbs got less. And the difference is we gave the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs so much more than David Montgomery that it doesn't look like there's a drop off in efficiency. 18 touchdowns, 1,850 yards from scrimmage, the big plays, like all to the good. And yet the offense got less efficient. They got less efficient from this year to next. So, like, if they go out and they sign a veteran center, but we're not addressing like Tate Ratledge, like let's say they go out and they sign Connor McGovern or Cade Mays or Tyler Biadasz or somebody who's been a center in the NFL who's better than Graham Glasgow. Is Jahmyr Gibbs getting back his 0.7 yards per attempt with this line? If he is, then it's completely worth it at almost any price. If he's not, and that's what you have to figure out if you're the Lions, is you have to give the ball to David Montgomery because he's the one that improves your efficiency in the running game. That's why it's Sonic and Knuckles, right? Jahmyr Gibbs is Sonic. That nothing's changed there. Knuckles is the thing that's changed. You've quit hitting people. And not to mention the fact that it's like, when you run the ball with David Montgomery, you're wearing down opposing defenses. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be more effective later in games if a defense has been worn down by the constant pounding that like the offensive line and David Montgomery deal to this first and second level of a defense as opposed to Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Jahmyr Gibbs becomes more effective, especially in the fourth quarter, if David Montgomery is give David Montgomery 15 carries across the first 3 quarters. 5 carries a quarter or whatever, right? Doesn't even sound like a lot. But like give him those carries to help wear down a defense. Like the longer the defense is on the field, the efficiency of the offense, long protracted drives to keep a defense out there, to prevent them from being able to rest, to keep them out there having to be physical, to like letting Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker and Tate Ratledge like wear these guys down so that by the time the fourth quarter or the end of the third quarter rolls around and you either need to come back from like a score down or something or like to seal the win, Jahmyr Gibbs is out there like, okay, go catch this dude with shaky legs. You can't. You couldn't do it when you were fresh. The Detroit Lions with Jahmyr Gibbs as the primary offensive focus or the secondary offensive focus is moving away from the thing that has made this team successful under Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes to a degree. But the degree, I think, is significant. They dropped like 14 spots in rushing efficiency from last year to the 2 years ago to this last year. I don't think that's the entirety of that blame is on the offensive line. Some of it is, and they're going to address it. But if you let David Montgomery go, it's going to really shake my faith in this organization. That's it. We'll be okay. So that's plenty of me complaining about stuff in the NFL. So the combine's going to wrap up today. In about 45 minutes, we're going to start seeing like offensive line measurables coming through, that kind of thing. And that should help inform their opinion. Then we're going to hit free agency and we're going to see if they sign Cade Mays, Tyler Biadasz, that kind of stuff. So, ultimately what we're talking about is how the Lions get back to the playoffs. How do the Lions win a Super Bowl? And it might very easily be that they provide Jahmyr Gibbs even more opportunities to be great. But I think that maybe like if you eat a bunch of sugar, you're going to get sick. Type of thing. All in all, I still believe that the best way for the Lions to make it back to the playoffs and win a Super Bowl is a very heavy investment in their defense. If they make no adjustments to their offense whatsoever, I mean, just improving their turnover differential by creating more turnovers on defense would give the ball back to an offense that, maybe took a step back last year, but was still really good. And I'll take the really good offense as opposed to the elite offense when you pair it with a really good defense, as opposed to an all-right defense. And maybe finally we'll have a year where we don't have a ton of injuries that we have to deal with and keep going to the practice squad to have starter level players, who aren't playing hurt, but, I think the note here is like, just get back. I mean, if I was me, I would be going into the draft hoping that like Gerard McCoy, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs fell to the Lions at 17 or was like up into trade up range. The Lions go get an elite defensive player, sign a veteran center in free agency, and add some depth along the defense in order to make them a little bit more competitive. And if we don't have the injuries and we have a fourth place schedule, the team's going to the playoffs. Like I'd bet $1,000 right now that the Lions win 12 games just with no other changes to the teams. Like if the whole NFL just restarted the season right now with the Lions schedule, they're going to win 12 games. So, but that's just my hope, I suppose, my hopium. Anyways, thanks for hanging out, guys. I know I went a little bit long. Thanks for listening to me rant. I really appreciate it. Stay safe, stay warm, and hopefully sometime winter will end. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.